Hello, everyone. I'm Mariana Dahan, and Sergio Mello is going to take the floor a little bit after me. What I want to talk to you about is that in power, there is cognitive dissonance between those making decisions and those the decisions actually affect. Nowhere this is more evident than at the World Economic Forum. Here in Davos, we have global leaders come to the Swiss Alps for a week of negotiations and conversations, which sometimes lead to real-world action. But also, we noticed that 10 years ago, the theme for the Davos Forum was improving the world. That was in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Now, in 2020, the forum has a new slogan: stakeholder capitalism. Think about that. While many business executives have enthusiastically embraced new profit-sharing mechanisms, one can also argue that the current economic model has produced humanitarian disasters around the world. Davos in recent years has featured keynote addresses from global leaders who have exacerbated both the refugee crisis and the social unrest through their nationalistic policies and protectionism. Never before have we seen social inequality at such a widespread scale. And the future is not reassuring. Protracted wars, violence, the climate-induced cataclysm will only push millions of people into the shadows of the economy, into the dark, into oblivion. These will be the climate refugees, the stateless, the undocumented migrants, maybe even you and I, who one day will wake up without the ability to exercise our most basic human right, the right to personal identity. And already today, there are 1 billion people in the world in this situation. At the World Identity Network, we call these people who have absolutely no way of proving their existence shadows in the dark. And we have a mission to shed light on the most marginalized and vulnerable populations. We want everyone to be able to access proof of their identity from anywhere, anytime, and that they do this in a self-sovereign manner, while also maintaining control over their identity data. We also need to do this in a way that is understandable and understood by everyone. We need to be able to distill complex problems into simple messages using visual mediums that can explain what lack of self-sovereign identity means and how blockchain-based solutions can help. So this is why we have created a new advocacy pillar at the World Identity Network, the Shadows in the Dark documentary series, which I hope will contribute to a global movement, to a grassroots-led movement, to encourage everyone to require their right to personal identity and to do this in a self-sovereign manner. We also want governments and central authorities from all over the world to facilitate access to self-sovereign identity so that every citizen and every person who resides on the territory of that country is able to access it without discrimination. We think that strong ideas require strong action and accountability. And this is why we are here today. We want to remind global leaders that they need to be accountable to the people they represent, and that social change is based on inclusive values and on collaboration, not on stakeholder capitalism and border walls. I hope you'll agree with me and will join this movement. If you'd like to participate in any way in our project, the documentary series on Shadows in the Dark, please reach out to me. I should be here probably until midnight. But before that, I would like to give the floor to a new innovative company in this space, Tangem, who is developing blockchain-based identity solutions targeting the most vulnerable and marginalized populations, those refugees and those people living in the shadows who have no ability to access even the most basic financial services. So with that, I would like to invite Sergio Mello, the CEO of Tangem, for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariana. That was very touching and very real. Real as blockchain should be. Today, we have a big problem in the world, and that is that trust is completely broken. It's broken for identity, it's broken for payments, it's broken for the government, it's broken for the banks. Who really trust an entity that has been letting us down so many times in the recent past? And blockchain has a lot of promise for fixing this problem. Blockchain has a lot of solutions to fixing the trust problem. But today, it's intangible. It's only really available for educated people, literally digitally literate, and that have all the tools and the access to blockchain. There's no real application that can be instantly on for a random person out of the 6 billion in the world. Specifically, those that Mariana mentioned, those that have most need. So at Tangem, we focused on solving the very basic, fundamental, low-level block of building trust for blockchain. We have built a solution that spans from the silicon all the way to a blockchain. And just like a VPN connects terminal to a server with end-to-end encryption, ensuring trust in the communication line, we have built a solution that connects a physical device as simple as a smart card that can fit in your pocket or in your wallet, all the way to a blockchain asset without the need to know anything, but keeping that same card in your pocket. This is revolutionary because it will give access to billions of people to self-custody of blockchain assets overnight without the need for any infrastructure. Infrastructure takes a lot of time to build, and today we have beautiful technology in the shape of blockchains that is already an infrastructure, but it's completely underutilized for real solution in the real world. So we have developed this solution that has a secure element chip, EAL6+, for those who know what it means. It's a common criteria standard for hardware solutions about production safety and security. Your passports are mostly EAL4, and your credit cards are mostly EAL5. So we are one step ahead of that already. The firmware that we have developed makes a little bit of magic happen in that we can compute elliptic and Edwards curve cryptography on the chip itself, only with the power of near-field communication. So only by tapping one of our cards on a phone or on an NFC terminal, we can have the chip become a blockchain wallet, holding blockchain assets in a split of a second, without the keys ever being anywhere else. And that's the most important part. The fact that the keys are nowhere else but within the secure enclave of the chip means that the beholder of the card or of the tag is the only and sole owner of the blockchain asset. This solves everything from identity, anti-counterfeit, payments, you name it, any signatures, e-signatures. Who has successfully executed a e-signature in the last 1 month? Easily. not even, well, half. We have half a e-signature in this room, which is the creme de la creme of the people who should really be using e-signatures all the time. PGP, who has used PGP in the last 1 month? Wow, we have 2. That's 3. That's amazing. We're big fans, but it's not accessible. So our tools allow it to happen in a split of a second with a tap of a smart card. This firmware is being audited by Kudelski Security, and the footprint is self-auditable on tap. So our SDK is allowed to verify that the firmware on the card is the one that has been audited anytime you want. The applications that are using our cards are multiple because we are open source for the application layer. github.com/Tangem, download your iOS and SDK, build your own app, and sign transaction for blockchain with EDD 25519 or blockchain and Ethereum cryptography in a split of a second. I am very proud that we can do a lot of things, from identity to anti-counterfeit to providing retail tools for tokenizers and issuers to distribute their assets globally, physically. It's really, really good. And clearly, we have a big roadmap ahead, very ambitious. But today, let's focus on identity. And there's no better way to show something than giving a live demo. So I will ask someone from the audience to help me here. I need a guinea pig for a live demo of issuing a blockchain identity. A bit of background. Last week, I was in my R&D office, and I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. And I decided to give a live demo. And so my developers were really happy to understand that they had to spend the weekend developing an app. But the good news is that our software stack is so good that it took them literally a day and a half. So in a day and a half, we built an app that I'll just show you right now. I need a volunteer. Sandra, are you too busy?
I was tweeting you, but I was
No, okay, well, fine then.
trying to be famous, but okay.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so you have 2 roles here. One is to hold the microphone,
Okay,
because I need 2 hands for this.
all right.
Then I'll put,
Yes, the short person, but okay.
then I need the,
Where are you?
and you can attest how this works.
Okay.
We have 2 keys. One is the issuer key. This is obviously a unique key, coincidentally on an Ethereum network, just because it was the easiest to build in a weekend. This key has been issued by an entity, a government, or whoever wants to be the mother trusting agency, to a person or an organization that wants to issue ID cards. This other card is a blank identity card. It hasn't been configured yet. What I'm going to do now, are we okay? Good. No problem. What we're going to do now is to issue an ID live on the Ethereum network. And in order to do that, the first thing I need to do is to scan the ID.
So, if I were a refugee, I'm now going to get a new card.
Exactly. And as you can see, all the infrastructure I need is a smartphone with NFC capability, few $100 Android phone, cards that are incredibly scalable and producible en masse by Tangem, and any authority has issued a card with a key. We hold the card on the phone.
The phone is scanning.
The phone is scanning and
Got it.
prompts us to issue a new ID.
So you're authorized to issue the new ID.
I will issue the new ID. I need your picture,
Great.
holding the microphone.
Because you know, that's exactly what I want to be doing.
And I have an answer for that. You probably don't want this data to be freely available online, right?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
It is very comforting for you to know at this point that this data is only going to be stored encrypted in a secure element on the card, fully self-sovereign.
Excellent.
I'm going to skip the date of birth, if you don't mind. Now I am authorizing this transaction with the master key.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please. That's a good moment.
If somebody steals that card, that's a MasterCard.
If somebody steals a MasterCard,
A credit card company, I mean.
so the way this works is that we are coloring, we're painting the wallet represented by the ID card, with a transaction from the MasterCard. With the same way, we can revoke access to IDs issued here or to the same card. Now I'm writing the data, your biometric data, on the secure element. How long did it take? A second? Two?
Yeah, a couple seconds. It's all happening.
The transaction is being broadcasted.
Verifying. Wow.
Therefore, now you're still not registered, but as soon as we refresh, we will see that Ethereum network will have broadcasted the transaction. Input data, not registered. New scan.
And now, what can I do with the card?
Now with a card, you can claim your identity, prove who you are.
So my card looks like that, except that's Sergio.
You're verified.
There we go.
This is your new ID card.
Whoa.
Self-sovereign
Oops.
data.
Yes.
I'll take it for you.
And then I lose it 2 seconds later. Okay.
Self-sovereign data.
And there's the tiniest little chip right there.
Blockchain verified. Scalable. Full flexibility on issuing issuer licenses and issuer keys
Now
and revoking them. Now you can claim your identity.
and then
You
go
can use the
and I can-
Tangem app. Yeah, in the next release of the Tangem app, we will have the possibility for you and you only to view your data that is saved on the chip. So this is just a very little. Thank you very much. This is just a very little proof of concept. See you later. It's a very little proof of concept, but it practically shows how, with the right tools, which in this case is a secure element.
And it took a few seconds. I mean, literally, it was like a minute, not even.
Exactly. With the right tools and the right flexible infrastructure, you can build very advanced solutions that take advantage of all the amazing things the blockchain promise, can be deployed at scale, can be deployed quickly, fast, and it's really only a matter of government or a regulating agency to decide to do it. At this point, there's no excuses. The tools are there. System integrators, developers, you all know now that with a very simple SDK, you can, in a day or two, build a fully working, incredibly safe, and secure ID solution. This is all I had to say today, but I would like to open the floor for questions, because probably you have a lot of questions, and if you let me speak, I'll go on for another 3 hours. So.
Couple questions. Anyone have any questions?
Verified.
I'm just wondering, I mean, if someone, let's speak about a refugee, for example, who have his files at the government to wait for his green card, whatever, in whatever country, and he gets this through this because he want to have he want to exist in that country, and then he's worried that by the end his file is rejected. Whereas a lot of refugees get rejected because of 1,000 reasons. What is the risk? And he want to stay. I mean, he decided to stay. What is the risk that this information will become the way to track him and to get him?
So the question is, how is the attestation on a smartphone related to trackability,
Yes.
basically?
Yes.
And that applies not only to refugees, it applies to every one of us, actually. So that's why people like self-custody, because self-custody means that you don't necessarily need online validation or verification of an asset being an identity or value of money. Cash in your pocket, your ID, printed ID, should be enough for validate.
But this information is somewhere that can be hacked, it can be taken. I mean,
That's the point. The biometric information is stored encrypted on a secure element. It's really hard to take it out of there. I wouldn't say unhackable because that's not fair, but it's really, really, really hard. So the fact that you have self-sovereignty and complete self-control over information, on the blockchain, we only write a footprint, the hash of the biometric information to make sure that when you attest through the blockchain, you can verify that the information that is displayed from the card and that is stored safely in the secure element is exactly the one that was approved and it was validated by the issuing entity. That's all that happens on the smartphone. Now, if the developer of the smartphone app wants to include tracking in that app, that's completely another factor. and it's out of our control. We provide the building block for the safety at lower level. Developers, governance, I'll leave it up to governments to decide for.
So can you add additional attestation?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a very flexible mechanism, and it can be built on any chain. We support the top 15 chains and pretty much everything but Zcash. And therefore, the mechanisms with which you can build smart contract capability, threshold signature, multi-sig, M of N, multiple entries within the same asset is absolutely flexible to developers.
And is there capacity constraints in terms of the data size on the?
It depends. We're developing our own chip. We are relying on Samsung today. It's a SE350, but we're developing our own chip, so the capability will improve a lot. Today, I think we have, don't quote me on this, I think 20 or 30 kilobytes of memory in the secure elements, or 200 actually. I think it's 200. You can easily put some basic biometric like a picture and other stuff. Yes. But that can be improved. It's just a matter of chip design there. There's no real reasons why we can't expand on that.
I'm interested in the use case of being able to track goods along a supply chain,
Mm-hmm.
where at multiple stages in the supply chain you will add or modify information. The problems with these approaches in general relate to the unit cost of the chip in relation to the cost of the good that is being tracked. So I would be interested in knowing what's the cheapest you can go with this kind of technology to understand what kind of goods could you track.
Someone is trying to sidetrack the conversation outside of identity, but I'm happy to have a good answer for that one. No, you're absolutely right. So today we can already provide a very, very affordable and scalable solution. Our cards are really the cheapest and safest and most secure thing you can use for a blockchain asset today. As you said, clearly RFID tag that doesn't sign a transaction today is available for 3 or 4 cents. So clearly it doesn't really compete with blockchain applications. But we have found a way to have single signing chips for a very reasonable amount of money can compete in that sphere. So yes, we already provide anti-counterfeit tags. We have a project with New Balance that puts our Tangem cards with their personalized application and personalized look in collectible sneaker boxes and use the card as a proof of a title of ownership, blockchain-based. That one was specifically on Cardano. And that is the scratching the surface scenario. But of course, we can go a lot deeper in various applications. And having an item that self-signs a transaction on transit in a warehouse, clearly it's quite innovative. So yes, everything can be done, and we do have solutions that are limited in capability, but still blockchain-based for tracking.
I'm sorry if I missed it, but at scale, going back to identity,
Mm-hmm.
do this at scale, hundreds of thousands of users.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the cost per use for giving people these ideas?
At very large scale, a Tangem card costs as much to produce as a $100 bill. You're still wondering why we have paper money. It's a shame.
Anyone else?
Question from Filmker.
Yes.
We're working with Mariana on a film about identity, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions is, and we interviewed a homeless person in New York, and they're concerned about being tracked and giving their identity. And then he also brought up a point, and he's a very articulate, educated young man who just hit some hard times. But he's saying a lot of the people that he's with in the shelters don't have phones, don't know how to use phones. A lot of refugees don't have the means to have a phone. Our studio is in a housing authority in Georgia. So there's a lot of people there that don't. What's the runway to deployment to where people in the lower income and the truly disadvantaged could take advantage of this technology?
That's a good question, yeah. That's a very good question. So we clearly want the Tangem to be embarrassingly easy UX, user experience. It has to be for everyone. Also those people that are completely digitally illiterate. In fact, the physical possession of the card is everything. And you don't need anything else. You need a phone or NFC terminal if you want to transact or verify data or verify a balance. But holding the asset itself doesn't require a phone. And that's why this is a real solution, because it doesn't, it's like your transit card. You don't need a transit terminal to verify the balance every 5 minutes. You just need it when you go and transact. Similarly, our NFC solution only needs the beholder of the asset to be in front of an NFC terminal when they need to transact.
So could an organization like Wynn or like the housing authority where I'm at have a centralized unit where people could come and create a card for themselves and then be recognized?
You say centralized, you mean a unit, because in fact, all you need is a phone. Yes, absolutely, a phone and special cards that have been coded to be the issuing entity cards, the signing keys, and that's it. Yes, you can have your workers on the ground with their signing keys. You can revoke them anytime. You can change the logic behind it anytime on a blockchain layer, and have people on the ground with Android phones and now also iOS. Although Apple could have done a better job with NFC, but yeah, it's very scalable. Very the time to market for this type of solution has proven a day and a half. One more.
Thanks for presenting this technology. I'm curious to hear what's your roadmap? How does that look like when it comes to adoption? Are you going to partner up with
Yes,
the organization?
of course. Our roadmap ahead. So Tangem today is not a consumer company, although we do sell cryptocurrency cards at tangemcards.com. It's because we're very crypto-friendly and we want people to like our product, and it is a great proof of concept. Hundreds of thousands of cards produced, no one complained, no one failure, everyone's happy. And that's really important for us because it's already tested in the field. So our go-to-market strategy is B2B2C. We partner with system integrators, with institutions, both in finance, in anti-counterfeit tracking, in logistics, in manufacturing, in the various fields that we operate. We have partners, and we're very open for that. In fact, we have good relationships with blockchains, with system integrators, with financial institutions, all of those, and we let them then distribute to the consumer. Clearly, the cards can be fully customized. It's just a matter of putting some ink on top of them. It's really easy.